Who is Jarrett Stidham? Some of us have gotten the chance to know him over his 3 years in Denver, being in the locker room where he's a really important part of the ecosystem. He's in the middle of the room. He's got the speaker that he brings with him everywhere he goes, whether it's to the steam room, to the showers. He's always got the music going. But for those of us who don't get to go into the Broncos locker room a few times a week and didn't watch Auburn play football almost a decade ago, you probably don't know much about Jarrett Stidham, who will be starting the AFC Championship Game for the Broncos on Sunday. Today, we're going to dig into the history of Jarrett Stidham, the tape of Jarrett Stidham, and figure out who the heck is Jarrett Stidham. We're going to start with Jarrett Stidham's early life. Going way back, born in Kentucky, moves to Texas when he was very young, becomes a high school football star in Texas, not only in Texas, but one of the best quarterbacks in all of the country. ESPN and Scout both rank him as a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. You have 247 Sports and Rivals ranking him as a 4-star recruit. ESPN actually had him as the number 2 dual threat quarterback in the country, right behind Kyler Murray, in front of some names you might know like Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Jarrett Stidham chose Baylor as his first destination in college, and he got off to a decent start. He wasn't the opening day starter at Baylor, but pretty quickly he became the guy. Now, injuries knocked him off the field a couple of times over the course of the season, but as a true freshman, he completed 69% of his passes, throwing 12 touchdowns, also only 2 interceptions. It was a great year, but unfortunately, scandal hit Baylor. The coach is fired, and Jarrett Stidham had to transfer. He chose Auburn as his destination, and because college football wasn't broken at the time, or at least wasn't broken the way it's broken now, he had to sit out for a year before he could play. So after sitting out the 2016 season, he was the day one starter, of course, at Auburn in 2017. He became the SEC Newcomer of the Year in 2017. He was the second team All-SEC quarterback behind our old friend, Drew Lock. He also finished in front of Jalen Hurts, who would lead Alabama to the national championship game before being benched at halftime for Tua Tagovailoa, who would win that championship game. Now, that Bama team lost one game all season. That game at Auburn to Jarrett Stidham. Stidham completed 75% of his passes, threw for 237 yards, had the game-winning touchdown run from about 20 yards out, giving him 51 rushing yards on the day. It was probably the best performance of Jarrett Stidham's career. Now, Auburn would go on to play in the SEC Championship Game. They would lose to Georgia despite being the number 2 team in the country and having beaten Georgia earlier in the year. Because of that loss, they fell down in the rankings and didn't get to go to the college football playoff. We're going to jump ahead to May. That's when draft expert Dane Brugler released a way too early mock draft. Now, Dane had 2 quarterbacks going in front of Jarrett Stidham, who went number 17 overall to the Denver Broncos. Now, he wasn't a consensus first-round pick heading into his senior year, but there was a lot to like. There was a lot of buzz around his name. Brugler wrote, Stidham performed well in his first season at Auburn last season. 66.7% completions, 17-4 touchdown to interception ratio. NFL scouts are hopeful to see another promising step in 2018. Unfortunately, that promising step did not come. In fact, he actually had a bit of a fall off. We're going to jump through that season to the pre-draft scouting report from Matt Miller. Now, Matt Miller wrote he liked the touch on the deep ball, the ability to throw on the run, the guts in big games, that Bama game being mentioned, throwing with anticipation, and the toughness, which is the one thing that I think NFL scouts and coaches appreciate more than the fans, the ability to not get scared of pressure and to deliver a pass even when you're going to take a hit. But things didn't go well for Auburn. They barely finished above 500. The offensive line, as Matt Miller wrote, was one of the worst in the country. And because of that, Stidham didn't trust the offensive line. He took too many hits when scrambling, and when things went south, was scared to make mistakes. Miller decided on a second-round grade for Stidham, comparing him to Derek Carr, which is interesting to think about, picturing Derek Carr in the current Broncos offense. Now, Stidham didn't actually go in the second round. He fell to the 133rd pick, 4th rounder for the Patriots, where he was the backup to Tom Brady as a rookie. Tom Brady left for the Bucs after the season, and Stidham thought there might be a chance that he could compete for the starting job, but the Pats decided to sign Cam Newton, and that meant that Stidham was relegated to the bench once again. Now, Cam left after that second year, and the Pats decided to draft Mac Jones in the first round. Stidham might have had a chance to win that job, but offseason back surgery knocked him out until midseason, and Mac Jones was off and running. So through the first 3 years, he hardly saw the field at all. Less than 50 pass attempts as a Pat. Now, after the season, the Patriots traded Stidham for peanuts, essentially, to the Raiders, where he reunited with Josh McDaniels, who was his offensive coordinator with the Patriots. When he was with the Raiders, Stidham got his first NFL start. So Derek Carr was the starter at the time, but the Raiders knew they were going to move on from him. With a couple weeks left in the season, they decided to bench Derek Carr to avoid injury and the injury guarantees in his contract, giving Stidham his first chance to start. He had to go up against the number one defense in the NFL, the 49ers. They finished first in the NFL in points allowed, first in the NFL in yards allowed. Stidham threw for 365 yards, 3 touchdowns, a couple picks in there, including the one that lost the Raiders the game in overtime, but he was one of 2 quarterbacks to throw for 300 yards against that defense all year, the other being Patrick Mahomes. That's where we're going to jump in to see what worked for Jarrett Stidham in that game before we jump ahead to more recent tape. So, this play early in the game kind of shows a lot of what this game plan was about. You line up heavy, you scare the 49ers with the run threat of Josh Jacobs in the backfield, and then you let Jarrett Stidham go make plays. So, what you'll see on this one is play action. Ufunga steps up, and you're just going to leak Darren Waller right back behind him. Wide open. Stidham delivers. Touchdown. It's kind of fun seeing old friend Talanoa Ufunga. He played a great game, but that play was a little bit rough. Jumping ahead to the next drive. Simple cover 3. You'll see it after the snap. Little motion right here. Give him the play action. Get the hips turned this way from Fred Warner. You got Devontae Adams breaking into all this space created by, forcing that second level of the defense to step up just a little bit. Wide open. There's another big completion, and he's gone. Third play, cover 3 again. You get the play action. You get the seam from the tight end, Darren Waller, who's going to wind up one-on-one with this cornerback. And what do you do when you get a big tight end against a corner? Just throw the ball way up high, let him go get it. Another completion. Jumping ahead again. This is not a good play, but I just wanted to show that, I'm not trying to tell you that Jarrett Stidham is Superman, but it's kind of fun to see what was working and what wasn't. Speed out, because you've got this one-on-one right here to clear out the outside guy and got leverage underneath. Wide open, just leads him a little too far out in front, and it's incomplete. But those are kinds of timing routes that I think we've seen more recently work out better, especially in training camp when we had a chance to see Jarrett Stidham play every day. Second quarter now, 2-minute drill, 2nd and 6. You go empty with Josh Jacobs motioning out. He gets followed, and you see this big cushion right here. So with the receiver, typically scared of the speed, you might get a little bit more space. But in this case, Josh Jacobs stops. Stidham's able to get the ball there on time, in time to make the catch, move the chains. Again, it's not a perfect throw, but when you see from the middle of the field, not from the near hash field, get that ball out there before the cornerback's able to come out, just a little sign of arm strength that we like. Jumping ahead now, again, pre-snap coverage shows that this is man coverage. And when you get man coverage against Devontae Adams, remember, this is a couple years ago when he was still one of the best receivers in the NFL. Give him a chance against one-on-one. Now, goes up, perfect throw over the fingertips of the cornerback. Devontae Adams, kind of the key to the play, making the play for his quarterback. One of the questions, when you see some of these one-on-ones where Jarrett Stidham's giving his receiver a chance, are the Broncos' weapons going to make these plays for their quarterback? Sutton's capable, but with some of the other injuries, we're going to be curious to see what that actually looks like. 3 more. Let's go 3 more from this game. We're into the third quarter now. Empty, cover 3. Stidham leaves the pocket. We'll see there's a bunch of space right here, just leaks right out. And the defense kind of collapses. Devontae Adams is going to find some space. And as Stidham gets up to the line of scrimmage, pauses. We'll see Talanoa Ufunga flying downhill. Ufunga's about to light him up, but Devontae's leaked out behind the coverage. Stidham wears the hit, delivers the pass. I mean, look at this guy just getting crushed by 2 defenders. And Devontae Adams is off and running for a touchdown. Big play, and it's all because Stidham was willing to take his time and take the hit from Talanoa Ufunga. Not something that'd be fun to do. 2 more. Big old box fade here from Darren Waller going up against a smaller defender again. Gets a little step. He's fast. Speed up the sideline. Gets a little space, and a good ball gives him a chance to make the catch. Again, winning all these one-on-one battles with good throws. And then finally, here's a throw that's similar to one that we'll see a lot because you see Courtland Sutton on these big dig routes. After the snap, see the in-breaking kind of rounds this route out, but clear out here, and you've got all this space. Stidham's actually off the screen. And again, big hit coming. Wide receiver open. Takes the hit, gets crushed, winds up hitting this guy wide open in the middle of the field. The key to this game was toughness. And your first NFL start after sitting on the bench for almost 4 entire seasons, you're going to be willing to take these hits, which he was, and is incredible. So after the season, it's the end of the rookie contract for Jarrett Stidham. Sean Payton is now the head coach of the Denver Broncos, and on day 1 of free agency, he gives Jarrett Stidham a contract that seems a little bit excessive. 2 years, $10 million. Doesn't seem like a backup quarterback should cost that much, and it also doesn't seem like one of your first signings of free agency should be a backup quarterback to Russell Wilson. But that's exactly what he did, and we're going to jump ahead. So it's a similar situation at the end of this season. Just like with the Raiders with Derek Carr, the Broncos know they're moving on from Russell Wilson at the end of the year. With 2 games to go, the Broncos decide we're not going to risk the injury guarantees, keep him healthy so we can cut him in the offseason. Sean Payton will say it's because Jarrett Stidham gives us the better chance here. I think a lot of us read between the lines and say, hey, maybe that's true. Getting off the money is the big deal, though. We got 4 plays from this start with the Denver Broncos. It's actually second start. This is the last week of the season out in Vegas. Again, this is just a nice little concept. Watch these 2 down here. This guy's going to have to step up to bite on the quick little curl. Sutton's going to be able to break out. Stidham going to give a good ball to Courtland Sutton, but bounces it off of his right shoulder because Sutton doesn't catch it, and that's how the first drive ends. There are lots of plays like this where it's either dropped or a couple that Stidham, of course, missed, including the first pass of the game, just out to the flat, little jittery. But the chemistry just seemed off in this game. It meant that they didn't really have a chance to come back and win when they were down late. Here's a big old crossing route from our old friend Brandon Johnson. Again, similar formula to the Raiders game, a lot of play action, which is something where Stidham thrive, but you see these linebackers just step up and play the run, in part maybe because they're not scared of Stidham, but it creates all this space behind them for Brandon Johnson to break inside. You're going to see the catch, and he's going to be up the field for a decent gain once again. 2 more from the Raider game before we get into the really, really fun stuff. And this is where, again, play action, and you're going to see Kroll leak up here, break inside, and it looks like he's got everybody beat. Unfortunately, Stidham leads him a little bit too far inside instead of straight up the numbers. Kroll also not the fastest of tight ends. You're going to see this safety, able to drop back, make a play. Again, not a perfect game by any means. Some throws that you like, though, including this one, our final throw of the day, which is an out and up to Jerry Jeudy. Bang. You'll see him break inside, break up, and all of a sudden he's wide open in this pocket of space. Stidham hits him. He cuts back inside here, off and running. Explosive plays. Jumping ahead to the next season. At this point, the Broncos have drafted Bo Nix. And Bo Nix is probably going to be a starter. It's a training camp battle, technically. And Jarrett Stidham looks a lot better, especially in the first couple weeks of training camp. By the end, though, at least by our grades at DNVR, winds up to about the same grade over the course of camp. That late trend from Bo Nix, plus a little bit of favoritism probably toward the first-round draft pick, means that Bo Nix is going to be the opening day starter, relegating Jarrett Stidham to the backup job. So he doesn't get to play. The Broncos actually are the one team that only has 1 quarterback throw a pass that entire 2024 season. Jumping ahead to the next year, though, we're going to wind up in 2025. Again, Bo Nix solidified starter. Jarrett Stidham, though, what a preseason. Starts by going 14 of 15 in the first preseason game, and this is the second preseason game where I think it's even more impressive. Again, drops back, sits in this pocket. He's going to leak up through here, and my goodness, what a play. Again, steps up, waits, sees this guy coming free, hits him over the middle of the field, and Pat Bryant winds up running for a big gain. These are the kinds of plays that just look special. Again, it's a preseason game. We'll talk about whether it even matters, but to see him carve up these defenses is a whole lot of fun. Pat Bryant, again, we all remember the Pat Bryant breakout this fall, but Jarrett Stidham and the chemistry with Jarrett Stidham is a huge part of that. Here's another slot dig. Steps up, see him breaking inside right here. Delivers. Again, that ball needs to be perfect because that coverage is right there behind him. Drills it right into the chest. and all of a sudden you've got another first down. I think this one's probably my favorite play of the day. It's similar to the first one. We see drops back, pocket starts collapsing, missed blocks everywhere. Because that's the thing about preseason. Look at that. 3 guys getting beat because, sure, you're going up against backup defenders. That's also a backup offensive line you're playing behind. He escapes up the middle, and you think, oh, look, he's got room to run. He's got to run. But there's the line of scrimmage right here. Stidham just pauses right on that line of scrimmage. Pat Bryant over the middle with the defender right here. And because everybody's closing in, Stidham has no choice. He can't wait for him to come free. He's got to drive that ball just past the fingertips of that linebacker so that Pat Bryant can catch it. Beautiful throw. Unbelievable. And again, that's my throw of the day. Troy Franklin with the out and up. Just absolute money. Bang, bang, bang. Similar to the throw against the Raiders. Look, he thinks he's pouncing on this, sneaking up the sideline. Stidham delivers another perfect ball right here, going into the end zone. Just easy for Jarrett Stidham. We got 2 more before we get out of here. Deep out. This is a big boy throw. Again, middle of the field, so it's not quite near hash. It's not quite as close as you can get to the sideline, but watch how he delivers this. See him breaking into space. This is your matchup right here. Bang. Contested, of course, but right on the money so the receiver can box out completion. And then final one, his last throw of the preseason, actually. This is a walk-off. Troy Franklin up the sideline. Covered. Who's going to make the play for Jarrett Stidham? Devontae Adams will do it. Cortland Sutton will do it. Hopefully we get Troy Franklin, because look at this grab on a perfect ball, just putting it right over the helmet of the defender. Catches it. This alley. And that's why this this fall, we talked a lot about Jarrett Stidham and how awesome he was in training camp, which he was last year too. We forget. Sure, Bo Nix beat him out. With the performance Jarrett Stidham had in that training camp, he would have won some previous battles that the Broncos had in training camp. Again, does preseason matter? You're going up against a backup defense. It's also a backup offense. It's not like it's Cortland Sutton going up against guys who were honorable mention all MAC last year. Some of your own guys were in that same situation, and Jarrett Stidham found a way to make it work. Been in the offense a few years. We'll see what happens. Obviously, there's no guarantees that this is going to translate. We haven't really seen him play in important NFL games, certainly not to the AFC Championship Game level, but there's reasons to think that he's capable of living up to this moment, and Sean Payton sure thinks that that's the case.
I've got a 2 that's capable of starting for a handful of number of teams.
We all silly like the mayor.